today's video is going to be my August reading wrap up. We are already 6 days into September, so I needed to film this video before it gets too late because I don't think I was going to have time to film this video at any other point besides during the day today, because I have off today and tomorrow, and then the rest of the week I'm working all the way up until Friday, and I'm not going to have any time to film this after that, and I'd rather just film it on a day that I'm off during the day. So in the month of August, we were able to read 16 books, which is a little bit less than I usually read, but I updated you guys in my TBR video and also on my TikTok wrap up for August that we did lose our beautiful dog Watson a week and a half ago. He was my little baby. I miss him so much. But the good news, this was my baby. He was 13 though. We were all so devastated. So yeah, I didn't even really read that day. I just physically really couldn't. I maybe read like 20 pages that day. So that week was kind of a bit of a wash because I was not able to read as many books as I usually do. That week I was only able to finish, I think I only finished 2 books that week, which is still finishing 2 books. So there's nothing to be upset about. Reading is reading. I need to constantly remind myself that if I'm not enjoying the books that I'm reading, then what's the point, But honestly, again, I had a fantastic reading month. Even though I only had 3 5-star reads this month, because honestly, it was a bit of a struggle to find 5 stars in August, but the 3 that I did have, I absolutely love these books. So let's get into it. So the first book that I read, and this was definitely my favorite book this month, my least favorite book we'll go into in a little bit, but besides that, I loved pretty much every single book that I read, except for one, which is the end of a series that I wasn't really crazy about, but I ended up finishing it because I was still curious enough to see what happened to these characters at the end. There are 2 other series that I DNF'd that I'm not going to continue, which is Chestnut Springs and the second book of Jade and Dragons called The Blood Phoenix. I decided I didn't want to read that either, even though it was 50% off at Barnes for their 50% off hardcovers sale a couple days ago. I just had no desire to continue the series. I'm not going to continue series that I feel no need to continue if I wasn't immersed enough or I really didn't like the writing. Like, also, I am DNFing the This Woven Kingdom series called Every Spiral of Fate. I don't think I'm going to be reading that book because that comes out September 30th. And I know everybody and their mom is excited for it, but honestly, I really did not like the This Woven Kingdom series, but I loved the Shatter Me series, so make it make sense because it's both by Tahereh Mafi. So anyway, let's start and let's stop yapping. So the first book that I read in August, I actually started this when it came out July 29th, but I finished it August 1st, and that is Wrath of the Dragons by Olivia Rose Darling. Oh, this book, you guys, this was 5 stars. This was 5 stars. I absolutely fucking love this series. I rated the first book, Fear the Flames, 5 stars, and this one was no exception. This just had so much action, so much character growth. This book made me cry like a baby towards the end. This book actually made a lot of people cry, and a lot of people were rating this 5 stars. Also, look at this map on the inside. I freaking love it. I just wish there was like a sword sign on the front. What I love about these books and what I love about Kaden and what is her name? Is Islan? Is it something? Elowen. I fucking love their romance so much. And it's not because I'm like totally obsessed with Kaden and that he's a pathetic man in love with Elowen, which he is, but I absolutely fucking love their banter in this book because it's like kind of top tier banter that I honestly have not read from a romantic couple before. They are just so fucking funny together, and the jokes that they make, it's almost like prank-like, but also like they're always laughing at each other, but also they're crazy about each other, but like it sometimes like a bit of like an obsessive pathetic man, not that I don't love that, gets a little repetitive in romantices. I'm not saying it gets boring, but I'm saying like sometimes it's a bit overused. In this, she makes it so unique. And that's why I love them, because I feel like they're such a down-to-earth romanticy couple, and I feel like that's very hard to come across in romanticy books. You would probably think that you would see that more so in like regular contemporary romance books, but no. I loved this book. I'm not going to say anything else about it because that would be like massive spoilers. So I just loved it. It was so good. I love Caden. I love Eowyn. They're both such badasses, and they're both such amazing, beautiful, wonderful characters. And I love the found family in this book, the group of their friends. I wish there was a little bit more of their friends in this book, because in the first book they were very prominent and they were so fucking funny. And I love that she doesn't make just the two main characters like the main, yes, they're the main focus of the book, but I love the way that she writes like her ensemble cast, like her cast of friends in this book. They're so funny. And like you fall in love with every single character in the book. Like there's not one character that I dislike in these two books besides Eowyn's father, because he's a piece of shit. But yeah, love this book. It's so fucking good. You need to read it. You just need to read it. Also, if you do read the second book, the author highly suggests that you just read the traditionally published first book, which is Fear the Flames, because I saw on Ellen's romanticy vlog video when she read this book, she had to go back and reread Fear the Flames, because at first she had read just the indie published version, and then she said she was really confused when she went into this one. So she went back and read the trad published Fear the Flames, and she said, okay, now it makes perfect sense, because that's exactly what the author tells you to do. So sorry if you have to reread it if you already read the first one in the indie published version, but they said if you want to understand what's happening in the second book, you should read the trad published first one, but you can do whatever you want. So then the second book that I read in August, I really just wanted like a sports romance. I remember how I said I just mood read the entire month because it was my birthday month. So, and also this was my first full month working at Apple. So a lot of stuff happened in August, and also it was my birthday. So working at Apple, my birthday, and then of course losing my baby. So it's been a very up and down month for me, but I am very happy working at Apple. So the second book that I read was Unsteady by Peyton Curran. This book and the second book have been on my TBR for so long that I finally decided to pick up this book. And of course, after I bought these physically and read them physically, and I did have the audiobooks as well from Libby, tell me why it came out on Kindle Unlimited literally like a week and a half after I had already read them. And I bought these during the buy one get one half romance sale at Barnes & Noble, and I actually read all 4 books that I had bought from that sale, and 3 of them are in this wrap up, and the last book that I read in July, which was Nightshade, was the first one that I wanted to read when I got those books, but also I read all 4 books that I had bought. So that usually never happens anymore, because there's some books that I've bought that sit on my TBR like for centuries. So anyway, this was really good as well. I gave this book, I think I just gave this a 4-star, maybe a 4.25. I can't exactly remember. But I really like this. I would highly recommend this if you struggle with anxiety, if you struggle with ADD. I really do like the representation of ADD in this book, and also anxiety. Yeah, I just rated it a 4 stars. The only thing is that I do think some of the smut in this book, not saying that the smut isn't good, it distracts a little bit from the overall plot of the 2 main characters. So the 2 main characters are Reese and Sadie, and I just felt like some of the smut was a little bit cheesily written, but I really liked their story. Sadie has 2 younger siblings, and she basically has to take care of them. So she ice skates to make extra money so she can take care of them. And Reese is on the hockey team, and he just ends up being completely obsessed down bad for her. But he suffers with like severe anxiety. So they end up falling in love. I thought that this was a little bit insta-lovey though towards the end, which is weird because actually I felt it was a little bit insta-lovey in the beginning. Why would I say the end? Because I felt like it felt almost a little rushed that they were already getting married at the end. This is not a spoiler, okay? Like, because 99% of the time, romance couples always get married in the epilogue. Like, that's not a guess. Or actually, no, they didn't get married in this one. That was the second one. Sorry, I'm getting the two books confused already because I did read the second one as well this month. But oh my fucking god, I needed an Advil because why is the cap falling off? Like, Jesus Christ. Because I felt another headache coming on. Sorry. He like says like things that he already wants to marry her, and they've only been dating like not even a year, and I feel like that's just a little bit far-fetched for me. But also, like, some people do that. They know that they are in love and they get married only after a couple of months or like less than a year. So I just felt like they were a little young for that too. For me, I don't love that trope, but if you do, I think this is a book for you. But I really did enjoy this, and I'm excited to continue the series next year, because the third book doesn't come out until next year. Okay. Then the next book that I read was a Kindle read, and this book shot up the top of my list because I actually saw Jodi's books, or Jodi's, I think it's Jodi's books. Her name is just Jodi. She hauled this book in her last, like, book haul. And for some reason, I was so drawn to this book after she had hauled it. I thought it was one of the most beautiful books I've ever seen in my life. I don't have it, though, because, like, the special edition's, like, $100. I'm like, I don't pay more than $40. Even the special edition books that I have, I don't pay more than $40. And I don't think I've even paid $40 for a book before. All the special editions that I have are less than $40. Like, they're like $30 to $35. So, like, I refuse to spend more than, even $40 is steep for a book for me, okay? So, the next book that I read was Neverthorn by Shannon Maher, and this was, well, Mayer, not Maher. I'm thinking about the accomplice to the villain author. And this book was so funny. I did not expect this book to be as funny as it was. So it's about the main character, Harlow, and she is actually a bit older than most FMCs are in, like, dark academias or, like, fantasy books and stuff like that. So this is a dark academia fantasy book. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Again, I didn't think it was going to be as funny as it was. Basically, she is destined to save not just the school, but, like, pretty much the planet. It's like a mess. Jesus Christ. Immense amount of pressure on her. But basically, her and her sister have to attend this school. It's pretty much everyone that attends this school, I mean, has magic or might be developing magic, have to attend this academy. And she is destined to save everyone from the villain of their world. But also she's in love with her professor. I thought that the dynamic between her and her professor was actually really well written. I thought it was very funny. There was certain parts where Harlow was feeling like awkward as hell. It was just hilarious. She also has a familiar, I believe he's a cat or he was a mouse. I think it was a mouse. And he was so funny too, with like the way that he would comment on things that Harlow would do with the professor. He'd be like, well, this is awkward. But like just the way that Marissa Mayer writes her humor is hilarious. So I really do want to read some more of her books, but I don't think any of her other books are not part of series. But I'm 100% going to be reading the second book in this series because this is the first book in the Of Quirks and Curses series. The second book was already, the title was already announced. It just doesn't have a release date yet, and it's also not on Goodreads. I don't know if it's on Kindle though. Never Thorn. Oh my god, my hair. Also, we're getting a new puppy. And we're so damn excited because we just needed a new puppy. It's called Heather Moore. It says July 21st, 2026, so I don't know why it's not on Goodreads. It probably is. I just, for some reason, didn't see it listed under, it's right here, 100% adding that to my TBR, for next year. There's already like 5 million books that I'm excited to come out, next year. So anyway, that was the third book that I read. Hold on. Okay, then next up, I finished the audiobook that I was listening to, which was the third book in the Broken Blade series, and this was the third and final book in the trilogy, because it is a trilogy, and it was called Three Shattered Souls by May Corland. This book started off a lot stronger than the second one because, as you guys know, I really did not like Four Ruined Realms. I was so bored throughout most of that book, and then mostly everybody had said you only need to read like the last 20 pages of that book to see what happens. And for this book, the entire time all they're talking about is a freaking battle that's happening. But like with Wrath of the Dragons, it was, even though the battle didn't happen until 75-80% into the book, there was plenty of action and plot and world building going on in Wrath of the Dragons that I was just like immersed in like every single part of it. With Three Shattered Souls, the only thing that you're looking forward to when it finally does happen is the actual battle, but it doesn't happen until like 90% into the book. And by that point, I was getting really bored because the first half of the book was actually a little bit better. There was a little bit more action in this one. So I did not dislike it as much as the second book. By the way, I gave Neverthorn a 4.5 stars. I absolutely loved it. This book I gave a 3.5 because I was not as bored with this book as I was with the second one. The second one was awful. I gave the second one like a 2.75. I probably should lower it to like 2 stars because honestly it was so boring. But I wanted to finish the series because I was curious as to what was going to happen to the characters, and a lot of people did say that the ending was pretty sad, and like some characters obviously end up being killed. But I honestly, at that point, I just didn't really care anymore. I was like, okay, mostly all of them are dead, so. But also, I think that this series was very rushed because I think initially it was supposed to be a 5-book series, and a lot of people were confused as to why this was just a trilogy because everybody thought that there was going to be books 1 through 5 counting down from 5 to 1 because it's 5 assassins, so 5 broken blades. So you would think it would be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but no, it was just a trilogy, which is so weird. But then she's coming off with a spin-off series like next year, but I think I'm done with this world. Like, I really could care less where these characters go. I don't think May Corland is the author for me. I'm just not interested in this world anymore. But yeah, towards the end I was getting bored and I was like, I just need this book to be over, so I just finished it. And I'm so glad I decided to do the audiobook for this because there are good narrators in this. Except for one, he sounds like he's catching his breath like every 5 seconds, and honestly it annoys me because we hear him take a breath like every 2 seconds. I'm like, what the fuck? But I guess we're supposed to portray that he's like nervous or something. I don't know. Anyway, then I read one of my most anticipated reads of the entire year. The next book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series came out, and that is it's Nyaxia. Why do I keep on saying Nyaxia? the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and that is The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk by Carissa Broadbent. I was so excited for this book. Oh my god. And I had already finished those 3 books, which is crazy that I had already finished like 3 books before this came out, because this came out only on the 5th of August. And I loved this. I loved this. I love these books. I gave this, I believe, a 4.25. But this book was actually, I think, the longest book in the series so far. But I'm not bored once. I just am obsessed with Carissa Broadbent's world building and her atmospheric writing. I absolutely love the way that she sets this world, and I love these books. I'm so excited for the next one. And also the hardcovers for these, that's why I picked up the hardcovers for the 3rd and 4th books, because they both have beautiful art on them. And then the back always has like a saying. This one says, "Carve out your heart for it and it will give you the world in return." So yeah, I had to read this. I was looking forward to it so much. And this one is just the 2nd installment in Asar and Misha's story in hell. Basically, this is their journey through hell together. I really can't say much more than that. Past characters do make cameos in this as well. So because they're in hell, obviously you're going to see some people that you know were dead, okay? And also past characters in the first 2 books make appearances in this as well, and it was just so good to see them again. I loved it. But the epilogue in this, she always blows my mind with the epilogues that she has. It's set 10 years into the future, so I'm like, girl, does that mean that the 5th book is going to take place 10 years into the future? Because, like, I'm going to need that, like I need air, but it doesn't even come out until next August. Because this came out in August, and the 5th book just got announced, and I think I just added it to my want to read on Goodreads. So the 5th book is called The Lion and the Deathless Dark. That is a mouthful. And it comes out August 4th. So this one came out August 5th next year. This came out August 5th, this past August, and next year the 5th book comes out August 4th. Can I speak English, dude? I didn't even add it to my want to read. I don't know how I didn't. I swear to God, sometimes I just look up these things and I don't bother adding them. Why do I keep on closing my damn phone when I need the list in front of me of what I've read? But yeah, absolutely loved this. It was so good. And what's crazy about these books is that I just buy the physical copies, but I don't even read them. I just absolutely love the covers of these books. But I always read them on Kindle Unlimited, and then I just get the audiobook. So make it make sense. But, you know, that's literally the only series that I do that with. I don't do that with any other series. I usually 99% of the time will read the physical books. So, yeah, except for those. Even this series, I read the physical book. So the next book that I read after that is I needed a little bit of a... Well, actually, no. I read this book after. What am I saying? This book literally came out on the same day as The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk. I did not know that this book came out on the same day. I thought it was coming out 2 days later. Excuse me. Because Goodreads said it came out August 7th. Tell me why everywhere else it said it came out August 5th. Maybe it was an international release August 7th, but this book also came out on August 5th, and I'm 100% reading this. But also, the reason why I read this one first, I apparently cannot say book titles, so I'm just going to say this one, is because I thought it came out first. But also, I would have read that book first anyway, because that was the one I was the most excited for. So right after The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk, I read Accomplice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maher. Of course, I was going to read this book. That's why I read Assistant to the Villain and Apprentice to the Villain. I have not read Assassin's Apprentice yet. I don't even know when I'm going to get to that trilogy. Because I read those 2 books, the first 2 books in this series, English, Caitlin, back at the end of September and October of last year. I can't believe that was already a year ago. Like, what? That's crazy. It's already September. Like, what? This book was good. I really do enjoy quite a few things about this series. Everybody basically says the same thing, is that they really enjoy the characters of these books, but honestly, I feel like this series is getting a little bit dragged out at this point. I think originally it was only supposed to be one book, and then it became two, and I did think that we had more of like a murder mystery, like kind of mystery plot, or like an uncovering, and a little bit more of a suspenseful plot in the first two books. This one didn't really have that as much. It was like evil parents, and it's like that trope is used a little bit too much in some romantasy books, but also like it was still really funny to see whatchamacallit, Evie and the villain's relationship blossom, but also like I feel like the slow burn in these books are getting a little bit too repetitive, because how many times can they not be together already? Like, it's getting a little bit tedious, but there's no way I'm not going to be reading these books. I'm going to read every single book that comes out because I think they're hysterical. And they're just a fun spin on romantasy. I love how it's like kind of a parody of romantasy, but they're still like really good books. So I still had a great time with it. I was just hoping for a little bit more of like a mystery plot. So I gave it like, I think I only gave this one 4 stars, I believe. So 4 stars is still a great rating. I just thought I was going to love it more so. But I still think the first book is my favorite, and I'm so excited for the Netflix series when it does come out. So yeah, I still really enjoyed it. Okay, and then the next book that I read was another continuation of a series. So I did read quite a few books that were continuations of series. So the next one was Unloved by Peyton Curran. I wanted to read the second book in the Undone series, and then the third book is called Undone, which comes out like next July or something. I actually think this was my favorite romance book that I read this month, until I read another book later in August. I liked this one way more than the first one, though. The first one was still great. I didn't even realize how good my nails matched this cover. Oh my god, that is so cute. That was totally unintentional. Oh my god, they actually match perfectly. I love that. I need to take a picture of that. Because the last nails that I did matched this cover perfectly. And I read this one right after the other, but I read this one first and then I read this one. I think it makes sense. I did that totally unintentionally. But anyway, this one was so good. So this one was about Matt and Ro. And Ro basically has very loving parents. It's kind of like the opposite of the couple in Unsteady, but honestly, it didn't feel like it was repetitive, even though like she like switched up the way that the parents are with the two couples. But in the first book, in Unsteady, Reese's parents really did care about him, but like his father was like very hard on him, but also his parents really did care about him. But since he struggled with anxiety so much, that it was like hard for him to not feel so much pressure of like winning hockey games. It's kind of like a lighter version of like Beartown by Frederick Bachman. But that series is completely devastating. I finally finished the mini-series, by the way. I finally watched the last episode like 2 days ago because I was putting it off for weeks because I thought I was just going to cry. But I was like, I just need to fucking finish this. And it was so good. So I finally finished another show because I stopped watching shows for a little while again. Because there was like, I think like April to June where I was like catching up on a few shows that I wanted to watch and finish. Like Yellowstone and It's Always Sunny and The Sirens, which was another mini-series that I watched. But I was like, Beartown's only 5 episodes. I need to finish this. So anyway, Matt has his mom had passed away when he was younger, so he only had his extremely narcissistic, emotionally abusive dad. Reminded me so much of my ex-boyfriend. Yeah, so, but Ro is, his tutor, and since he struggles with ADD, she tutors him with math, and then of course they end up, falling in love with each other. But I liked the way that this one was written. I still love the way that these two books were written. I really do enjoy her writing, and I'm excited to read more from her. This one I gave a 4.25. I almost thought this was going to be a 5-star, but there was just... Oh, I gave it a 4.5. Okay, never mind. I really enjoyed this a lot. The thing is that there was just one or two things that annoyed me. One, I hate when princess is overused in a romance book. When the guy calls the girl princess too much. I can't stand it. I really cannot stand it. Every time that, it's okay if he calls her that, every once in a while, but literally, 3 times in 2 pages, I can't. It takes me out of the story so much. I understand why he wants to treat her like a princess, because he thinks that she deserves it, but also it's just overused so much. And then she stopped using it for a little while, and then I was like, okay, maybe she's done using it, and then no, it showed up 30 or 40 pages later, and I'm like, okay, this is getting annoying, but it was still really good. I really enjoyed this book a lot. Okay, then next up, I read a really fast book. I read this in a day. I really enjoyed this one. And again, these were the 3 books that I picked up during the romance sale at Barnes. So I picked up these 2 and I had already read them. So I was happy about that. And then the next book that I read was An Ancient Witch's Guide to Modern Dating by Cecilia Edward. If I don't read it in one shot, I trip on ancient and ancient. Makes me trip up so much because it's both and. So anyway, this book was hysterical, you guys. And this was the last book that I picked up during that romance sale. I loved this. This was so funny. If you're looking for a fast, cozy fall read... you could read this in the summertime too, because this came out in June. But this was absolutely fucking hysterical. The author actually did win an award for humor, and it's on the back. It says that this is her first adult novel. Where is it? It says... who has won the Australian Prime Minister's Literary Award and the SCBWI Sid Fleischman Award for Humor. And this is her first novel for adults, and this was hysterical. Oh my god, this was so funny. So basically this is about Thorn Scarhart. She's a 39-year-old witch that's almost 40 and basically is having almost a midlife crisis because she's still single. And she thinks that if she goes into the future, she mistakenly goes into the future. She time travels. And she thinks she'll be able to find a modern man. And it's hilarious. It's just so funny. That concept was hilarious to me. I felt like it was a little bit more of a unique take on a witch book. Sometimes, witch books can become very repetitive. It's usually they fall in love with someone and then they have to break this curse. For this, there were curse breaking in this, but it felt a little bit more unique than the typical curse breaking. Even though Thorn is a witch, but she also wasn't necessarily a great person. And that's why I think I loved this so much, is that she still casted spells and, hexes on people because she is a witch. Witches aren't good, but it depends on whether or not how you use your power for good or evil. Just because she wasn't evil doesn't mean she was the best person, but then you end up falling in love with her character by the end. And I just loved this. And then she ends up meeting the perfect guy for her. He's such a sweet, caring, lovable man. And I just loved their romance together. And also the way that she made it a little bit slow burn between the two of them in literally 290 pages was such a talent. I'm like, damn, girl, you had like no time to tell this story. And I feel like she did it in such a fast paced way that didn't feel rushed. I absolutely loved this. I cannot wait to read more of her books. I think I read this. Yes, I read this book. I rated this a 4.25. I don't know why I didn't rate it a 4.5, but yeah, she's definitely an author I will be reading in the future. Okay, the next book that I read was Somewhere in the Deep by Tanvi Barwa, and this is a YA fantasy. I actually buddy read this with my friend Becca. We both bought this book at the same time, like a few months ago, and we finally decided to read it together. I told her I was starting this book, and I wanted to get this book off my TBR because it had been on a couple of previous TBRs in like June and July, and I wanted to read this in the summertime because it was like an underwater fantasy book. I really liked this. I got like really good atmospheric vibes from this. It was a little bit creepy at some parts. I don't know why people don't like this book that much. I still gave this book, I believe, just a solid 4 stars. That means I still really enjoyed it. The main character is Crescent, and basically she is an orphaned girl that wants to find out why her parents got killed, but also like they think that her parents were bad people and they think that they deserved to be killed. And she constantly tries to prove herself that she's not like her parents, that she wants to help everyone and save everyone from the monsters taking over their world. So that's basically what it's about. I gave it a 4 stars. I love how this book immediately jumps into the action as soon as you start it. In chapter 1, she's already fighting a monster. And I usually, if YA books, it reminded me a lot of the way Daughter of the Pirate King was written. That's why I got completely sucked into that trilogy. But also that's why sometimes I enjoy YA fantasy books more so than adult ones. But I love adult fantasy books. Are you kidding me? But that's why I mostly read like adult romantasy as opposed to just fantasy books. For YA, I read more so regular fantasy books because also like they're not as smutty as romantasy books. But I really liked this. It was really good. But like Daughter of the Pirate King was similar, where you just jump immediately into the action. And I love when books start off that way because then I'm like immediately hooked. I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to see what happens next. You know, I hate like that slow burn action. I love that something was constantly happening in this book. It was really good. I'm getting tired already because again, I didn't really sleep, but we don't have that many books to talk about. That many books left to talk about. So the next book that I read, the fact that they're both called something deep. The next book that I read was Secret So Deep by Ginny Myers Sane. Somewhere in the Deep and Secret So Deep. Yeah. They just ended up happening at the same time because I was just in the mood to read both of them at the same time. And again, this book has been on my TBR for quite a while, and it was on a couple of past TBRs, so I finally got these 2 books off of my TBR, which was good. And again, this was like a YA paranormal mystery. And I really liked this. I thought it was good. It was getting a little bit repetitive towards like the middle, but then the end, I cried. And then I was like, that kind of bumped up the rating for me because originally I thought I was only going to give it like a 3.75. But then the ending really bumped it up for me, so I gave it a 4.25. So basically this is about a girl named Avril, and basically her mother drowned when she was a child. And she goes to like this acting school away from her dad. And basically she wants to find out what happened to her mother. And this is where she ended up drowning, is where she goes to this school. She returns to Whisper Cove. And basically Whisper Cove is all about, it's like, again, kind of similar to Bear Town, where this town is only obsessed with like plays and dramas. Like that's the only thing they really have in this town. It's like theater plays, which I thought was a really cool concept. And basically she falls in love with this guy. I forget what his name is, but they think that they have been in love for like in like past lifetimes. So but also she has dreams about her mom haunting her, because I think her mom comes to her so she can figure out what happened to her. So it's a very interesting plot. I feel like we were uncovering more and more layers about how her mother got drowned. The more and more we got into the book, and I thought it was really good. But the guy that she falls in love with, she doesn't know if she can trust him when she first meets him. She thinks that there's just like a darkness to him. And we thought that he was like destined to die for like the whole time. He always thought he was going to end up being killed in some way, and he just wanted to protect her. So it was really good. It was a really good book. And also his mother is the director of the play that they're both in. And there's a lot more to her that seems shady, but she makes people like fall in love with her. But also, like, it was a little bit weird the way that she would get closer to Avril. A little bit too intimate at points. Not like anything touchy-feely, but like it was just a little bit bizarre. But there's like a lot more to her that we didn't know. So it was really good. I really liked it. And honestly, at first I thought it was her father that was the one that planned to kill her mother, but it ended up not being that. So it was interesting. It was a really interesting book. Okay. Next up, I read my other two favorite books in the month of August. I gave both of these a 5 stars, and that is The Night Ends with Fire and The Dragon Wakes with Thunder by K.X. Song. This was such an incredible duology. And I finally got this book off of my TBR, so at least I read 3 books that were on my TBR for a while. This book was on my TBR for a year as well. I am not going to hold these up, though, because they're way too heavy to hold. I just wanted to show you guys the sprayed edges. They're so beautiful. I just wanted to say I loved these books so much. They're both by KX Song. I don't know if I said that, but I literally held it up. Oh, the duology is called the Dragon Spirit Duology. I think they just updated the name then, because there was not... It was literally just called The Night Ends with Fire #1 when I last checked Goodreads. Now it's called the Dragon Spirit Duology. Okay, now it actually has a name. Anyway, this was amazing, you guys. I loved the female main character because, again, she is not a good person. And I feel like I've been loving, like, those kind of romantices, or even, like, regular, like, witchy fantasies and stuff like that. If the character has more to them than you think. They're, like, not as much of, like, a stereotypical romantic female main character. I loved this duology. I don't really want to say much about it because I don't want to spoil it. Absolutely loved the magic system. Absolutely loved the conflicting feelings that the main character had. Her name is Malin. And basically in the first book, you know, this takes place in ancient... it's not China. I want to make sure. It says, with the future of the 3 kingdoms hanging in the balance, Malin will need to decide whom to trust. Sky, who inspires her loyalty and love, the sea dragon spirit, who has his own murky agenda, or an infuriating enemy prince who makes her question everything she once knew about her kingdom and about her own heart. So basically, in ancient Asian dynasties, I'm just going to say that, women were not respected. Women were basically treated like they were dirt. They were treated like they were second-hand citizens, second-class citizens, not second-hand. Jesus, Caitlin. And they were treated like garbage, you know? And if the woman didn't follow what the man wanted, they would be executed. So basically, this is about Malin's rise to power, because she didn't even know she had these powers, and she was constantly, like, conflicting and going through an internal conflict. That's what it's called, Caitlin. Throughout most of the book, because she had to learn how to not just control her powers, but also whether or not she was going to use it to take revenge against the people that fucked her over. So this was just so good. I love this so much. And then the second one is basically about Malin and the way that she grapples with controlling her power again, and whether or not who she can trust and which man she ends up with. But honestly, with Asian fantasy books, I think I did cry in the second book, by the way. I don't think I cried in the first one. I think I cried quite a bit in the second one. Not like completely tragic, not as much as the Song of Silver Flame Like Night duology by Emily Wen Zhao. That's still my absolute favorite Asian duology. Probably my favorite duology that I've ever read. And I compare like every single Asian duology to that one. This one definitely gave me that feeling again. And I absolutely loved both of these books. So I really feel like you should go into this yourself. I loved them. I loved that the female main character was not like an amazing person. I feel like, again, that gets a little bit repetitive. And towards the end, you don't know if she's going to end up with the prince or with another man that was actually her commander in the first book. And that's why it was a little bit similar to Mulan, where, like, you know, the female has to dress up and become a male soldier. So that does happen in the first book, but then the second book is completely unique. And I loved this. I just loved this series so much. So good. The magic was incredible. And it was a little bit similar to Song of Silver Flame Like Night, because of, like, in Emily Wen Zhao's books, like, there are, like, dragon spirits and the way that she controls her dragon. But obviously she has a dragon, because literally the second book is called The Dragon Wakes with Thunder. And the way that she describes the fantasy and the magic system in these books with the spirits is phenomenal. And I just wanted to show you guys. The dragon does not act alone. Like, are you joking me? And this one says, never trust a dragon. But I have to figure out where the hell I'm putting these on my shelf, because I almost have no room at this point. Because my brother is actually borrowing Fourth Wing from me after I got it back from my ex that he never fucking read. I just gave it to my brother because I know he'll read it, obviously. Everybody else that I actually give books to actually read the books that I give them. So, okay, next up, I actually read a completely mood read book. This book was actually not even on my mood read TBR, so I was like, I need to actually read a book that's not on my mood read TBR for August. And I wanted to read, like, one more summer romance book, because this was during the weekend that I went to Jersey with my friends for my birthday. So I was like, I just need something that is super easy to read. And also, like, I knew I wasn't going to have that much reading time Saturday and Sunday. So I did finish this book the day before we went to Jersey. But the book I decided to read, and I was like, you know what? This just screams summer to me. I really want to read this before the summer is over. So I read Friends to Lovers by Sally Blakely. And I just read this on Kindle Unlimited because it was on Kindle Unlimited. And I did listen to quite a bit of the audiobook. If you've read People We Meet on Vacation, this book is similar to that. But I thought this book was just so well written. Basically, it's a friends to lovers situation, but I love that trope. I love friends to lovers. And it literally says it's compared to People We Meet on Vacation, but you guys know that's one of my favorite Emily Henry books. I actually just picked up the special edition when it came out, so now I have 2 copies of that book too. Even though my first copy of Beach Read is still with my sister, I still have no idea whether or not she read it. It's been with her for so long, I might not even get it back because I already had the special edition. Because I had to have the special edition of Beach Read, because that's like my favorite romance of all time, besides Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. So anyway, why is this such a long description? You can't even see it. Okay. Where is... Hold on. I'm just trying to find the names of the 2 main characters. Joni and Ren. So Joni and Ren have been best friends. And for their whole life, pretty much. And everybody thinks that they should be together. But I love the way that this book was written. I really think that she's a beautiful writer, and I'm really excited to read more of her books. So basically, they just become friends to lovers. Like, there's not really that much to this book. I just really enjoyed the way it was written, and I think I gave this a 4.25. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. It took me a little bit to get into the book. But basically, they always promise each other to be each other's wedding dates no matter how long they're not together. Like, it's kind of a little bit similar to like Beach Read and, I mean, not Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation, because they would do the same thing in that book. So it was a little bit copycat, but also, again, I really loved the way that this was written, and also was more, it was still unique in its own way. It wasn't an exact carbon copy of that. But I don't know, I really enjoyed it. There's really not much else to this book that I could say. And I really enjoyed their banter. I thought they were really funny. Okay, next up, I finally read this book. This book has been in my TBR since it came out in March. And I did this one as a buddy read with my book bestie, Felicia. I don't think we had buddy read any other books in... I don't think we had buddy read anything else. No, I'm shocked, actually, that was the only buddy read that we had in August, because usually we do 2 books a month. We're doing 2 books in September. But this was my first Lucy Score book. Finally, I was able to read a Lucy Score book, and it's called Story of My Life. And this one is the first book in the Story Lake series, and the reason why I wanted to read this is, again, it's the first book in a series, so I don't have to read 10 million books to catch up with them, and the next book doesn't come out until next March, so I have plenty of time for that. I didn't add that to my TBR either. Jesus, so many 2026 releases already. And this book was absolutely freaking hilarious. I was enjoying this book literally so much. I actually thought it was going to be a 5-star for me, but a little bit towards like the middle of the book and towards the end, it dropped off a little bit. But I thought that this book was absolutely fucking hysterical. This was so funny. If you need an easy romance book, like right before fall, I think this is like the perfect time to read this book. Is like towards the end of August, the beginning of September. Oh, it was so good. And I think it did take place in August, so it was another summer romance book. So this was basically like the last summer romance book that was on my summer TBR. Even though I didn't really officially put it on my summer TBR. I was just so happy that I finally did read it. So this is about a woman named Hazel and a grumpy contractor named Cam. So it was like typical grumpy sunshine in this book, but this book was so goddamn funny. So Hazel is an author, and she hasn't written a book in like 2 years. And basically her agent comes to her and says, girl, you need to write a book. Like, what are you doing? So she's like, okay, but also like... she's going through like a messy divorce, and her ex wants her to give up like basically everything. So she doesn't really have money because she hasn't written a book in so long. So she drops everything and moves to this small town with her best friend, which is her agent. That's why she's pushing her to write this book. Also, her agent just got fired from this other big job. So she's begging her, like, please write this book, but also, like, Hazel needs money. And she's not begging her to take her money. She's just begging her because she needs to get herself out there because she is her friend. But the way Hazel lives is so gross, but it's just so funny. It reminded me of, like, a Miss Congeniality story but the only thing is that I wish we had a little bit more of, like, Hazel's character arc, but at the same time, I was in love with Hazel. I think she was so funny. But I thought, like, you know, Lucy Score would, like, go just a little bit more into, like, Hazel's confidence and the way that she put herself back into the world. Because she basically was living like a recluse. And then once she moved to this small town, she was not letting in people, like, right away. But the grumpy sunshine guy, Cam, was working on her house. It was like kind of making fun of, like, the renovation trope, too. Like, it was small town, grumpy sunshine, renovation trope. And I love all 3 of those tropes. And it was just hilarious. It was so funny. I had such a great time with this book. Okay, next up, I did read an arc. And then we just have one more book to talk about, and that's it. So I'm really glad that I did pick up this book before I ran out of time to read it, and I'm glad I read it when I did, because I read it like the last week of August because it was coming out September 2nd. But this was actually the arc that I received the fastest out of any arc that I've ever applied for. And it was crazy how many people were surprised. I mean, that were so excited to hear my thoughts on this book, because this book was very highly anticipated for a lot of people. And that is the prequel in the Divine Rivals duology, and it's Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. Hold on. Let me just make sure this is recording. We're almost done. So this one is the Letters of Enchantment 0, because it's the prequel to Divine Rivals. And I highly recommend. Can I speak? Fucking idiot. I gave it a 4.5 because I absolutely loved the way that Rebecca Ross wrote this book. Her writing was so beautiful in this book. I've been writing a lot of beautifully written books because I'm such a beautiful writer, obviously. No, I can't even describe these books half the time. But I need to go to the bathroom soon. And then get ready to see Felicia. I still have an hour until I have to get ready. So, this is about Matilda's and Vincent's love story. And if you guys wanted to find out more in the Divine Rivals duology about the gods of the Divine Rivals series, read this book. You get so much background about how the gods deal with humans and about the gods in general. And I think most people that have read this duology wanted that from this series, because it's like, where did the gods come from? Why are they, even a thing in this world? Like, we were all so curious about it after we read them, that it was so good. This is also a very tragic tale. I did cry quite a bit in this book. Even though I had cried, for the last 3 days after we lost Watson, and then I finished this book on that Saturday. It was kind of a little hard to finish, but it was so good. I'm not really going to say anything else. It is a slow burn romance, but I understand exactly why they couldn't be together until they were. And it's kind of tragic. It's kind of a tragic romance, like The Night Ends with Fire. That is not a happy ending for the lovers either. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying anything spoilery. I'm just saying, not all romantices have happy endings, and that's why I prefer those ones sometimes, even though it's I'm not sure if it's going to break my heart or not. But again, what's reading without breaking your heart a little bit? But it was so good. It was so well written. It did take me a few days to finish it, though, because after I had finished Friends to Lovers, then I went to Jersey Saturday, Sunday, and then I finished Story of My Life the day before Watson passed. But I read Story of My Life Monday into Tuesday because I was reading that book Saturday night and Sunday night when I was in the hotel room Saturday night. And then Sunday in the car going home, I just listened to a chapter before we went to the mall on Sunday morning the next day. But I wasn't really able to read anything until we were traveling back home in the car that night. And then I read a little bit when I got into bed, and that was it. But then I ended up finishing it on that Tuesday because I read a lot on Monday. After work. I had to go to work at 9:30 in the morning on Monday. And I had posted my how many books can I read in my birthday week vlog. So you guys will see exactly when I read those books. But then I picked up Wild Reverence Tuesday night, but then Wild Reverence took me Tuesday to Saturday to read, but again, Wednesday was a wash because I didn't read anything that day. But it only took me Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday to finish. I still finished it Saturday night. So I only technically read that book for 3.5 days because I didn't start it until Tuesday night. So I really didn't lose that much time. Actually, it was Tuesday night and then the full day Thursday, the full day Friday, and then I finished it Saturday. So maybe almost 4 days. But it was a 600-page arc, okay? It wasn't a short book. So anyway, the last book we ended up finishing, and I'm so glad that I finished this book in August. I finished my second audiobook for the month, and that is the 4th book in the Thursday Murder Club series, and that is The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. I think that this was my favorite book in the series so far, besides the first one. You just grow and with these characters and fall in love with them throughout the more and more books that you read in this series. And it's just so good. I absolutely love these books. They're so funny, but also like the murder mystery plot is so good and you just want to find out more and more and more. I don't really say too much about what these books are about because you really do need to read them because I don't want to be spoilery, okay? But usually it's just the gang's back together and they're solving another mystery, another murder, and I love and adore these books. I felt like this one was definitely the most emotional out of the 4 books because, you know, they are older characters, you know. I'll just say that. And some of it was really sad. But also, like, Richard Osman is one of the most, like, heartwarming murder mystery writers. But he's such an incredible person. Like, I actually listened to the bonus interview that was at the end of this audiobook when it was over. I listened to the entire interview. It was only like a 25-minute interview, and this was between him and the narrator of the Thursday Murder Club books. This was the first time they actually had finally met, was after he finished the 4th book. So the reason why I wanted to read this book in August is because I wanted to catch up with the series, and I had spread out the 2nd, 3rd, and now the 4th book throughout the year. I read the 2nd book, I think, back in January. I read the 3rd book, I think, in like March or April. I don't even remember. When did I read the 3rd book? The 3rd book I really liked. The 2nd book was my least favorite. I think my favorite is still the first one. Then my second favorite is The Last Devil to Die. Then The Bullet That Missed. And then The Man Who Died Twice. I just thought The Man Who Died Twice was a little bit slower than the other ones. I read it back in May. Okay, so I usually read them like every 3 months. And the reason why I wanted to catch up by this time is because the 5th book is coming out at the end of September. And I knew this like months ago already. But the 5th book is called Impossible Fortune. So I will be ready to read that. It was just so good. And also, the day after Watson passed away, or it was like Friday, we had watched the Thursday Murder Club movie on Netflix, me and my mom and my brother. And it was so good. If you love the series, you should watch the movie. But everybody thought it was going to be a series. Even my mom was like, why is this not a series? I thought it was a series. I'm like, no, it's a movie for the first book in a book series. So it was just so good. Loved those books. So yeah, those are all the books that I read in August. I'm so happy that I finally filmed this video so I don't have it hanging over my head the whole month. Or for the first week of the month, because that's usually when I like filming them. For September's wrap up, I already started filming it because I'm actually doing a vlog throughout the whole month on when I start books and when I finish them. I've been wanting to do that for a while. And I think that'll be easier for the rest of the year because once Apple announces the new products on the 9th, I'm going to be really busy. Okay, I'm going to be busy working a lot all the way up until Christmas because, you know, everybody's going to be freaking out about getting gifts for their family and for their friends. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So please like and subscribe. If I could speak, follow me on my Instagram at CBW819 and check out my Goodreads and my TikTok in the description box below. I've been talking way too long. I can't even speak anymore. So let me know if you've read any of these books. If I said that already, I'm sorry. And check out my TBR for the month of September. I'm really excited to read some of these books in September. I'm almost done with my 4th book again in September already. I can't believe I'm already on my 4th book. And it's only the 6th of the month, and I'm about to finish it pretty much before I see Felicia because I only have 50 pages left. So yeah, that is it, and keep reading. Bye.